Hi, everybody. Welcome to the press. Welcome to a supersized show that's going to cover everything we're going to talk about this week. We're doing it on a Wednesday morning. Apologies for that. I'm Ryan Ballingy. Thanks for listening to the show. And I'm doing that for a couple of different reasons. It's been a little bit of a bizarre week. I was out of town until late Monday afternoon, and I did not have the best internet connection while I was away, which is different for me, but was a cool thing to be able to do. And then Tuesday just kind of got out of hand, to be honest with you. So, trying to get things done today, trying to get you a whole episode of everything for this week. We're going to talk about the RBC Canadian Open. We'll talk about the U.S. Women's Open. We'll touch ever so briefly on the European Open. And we'll see what else we get to at the end. All right, let's start with the RBC Canadian Open. Big event of the week. Then this leads into Memorial, which leads into the U.S. Open, which leads into Travelers. So after this week, 3 signature or major events in a row. A lot coming on the PGA Tour in the next few weeks. This week, we've got one of the best tournaments on the schedule. I love the Canadian Open. I love National Open, long-running National Opens. This is one of the longest running. It's right up there with the U.S. Open, South African Open. It's a great tournament, and I'm glad that it's got some good support in the last couple of years from players like Rory McIlroy and Justin Thomas came the one year. Spieth came the one year. You got Tommy Fleetwood, a whole bunch of people who have supported this championship. Sahith Theegala is there. Now, a lot of the players who are in this field that are top 50, and there are 12 of them, they're in the field because they are related to or connected to RBC in some fashion. While the tour explicitly bans requiring players on a certain sponsorship to come and play a tournament sponsored by them, that there's kind of language around that, but the expectation is real that they'll be there. So you have a lot of Team RBCers who are playing this week. And hey, that's totally fine. They're a big sponsor of the PGA Tour. This week, we are playing on a course that's a little bit different in a couple of different ways. One, it's Hamilton Golf and Country Club. So this tournament moves around. And it doesn't move around every year, but it has moved around. This last hosted in 2019, the year before the pandemic. Remember, we did not have this tournament in 2020 and in 2021. We've had it the last 2 years. So of the last 5, we've had 3, right? If you look at that. This event does move around. This is a shorter golf course on the PGA Tour. 70-84 is the scorecard yardage. Probably play a little beyond, be a little bit less. It's also a par 70. This is Hamilton's 7th time hosting the Canadian Open over its vast, long history. A lot of the time, the event is held in the Ontario province, and this is no exception. It's in Hamilton. Well, there's a different town, but Hamilton. Ancaster is technically the town, not Hamilton. This is also a golf course that is basically new. It's basically unknown to players. It was renovated by Martin Ebert, who is the favored architect of the R&A. Came in, did some work, and this is a new golf course. So for basically 2 weeks in a row, we've got a new version of an old golf course hosting on the PGA Tour. And I would argue you should expect some similar things this week as last. And maybe a little bit better settling in terms of the green, so maybe not quite as firm, but similar. It'll be a little firmer than usual. And the fairway should run pretty well. So this is going to play like a fairly short course, but there will be some penalty off the tee. You could probably see players getting to 20 under this week, given there's some better maturation on the greens. But I think you should expect longer hitters to tear this place up if they can keep their ball straight. It's not quite like Colonial, where there's a lot of reason not to hit driver on a bunch of holes. There is some here, but not quite to that same extent. So I want to give you the preface of all that about the course before you get into it. The greens are not particularly tricky. They're also not particularly enormous. So you have that similarity to Colonial as well. Colonial isn't small greens, but they're definitely not big greens. And they were expanded in size under the renovation. So I would expect a similar thing here. That's the trend in golf. So that's what we've got in mind. But this golf course has just a par 5 on each side, number 4 on the front, and number 17, which that's 580. You've got a couple of par 4s that are longer. You've got a 500-yard par 4 on number 11. And really, that's the only kind of scary long hole that there is. There are a couple shorter holes, 346 as a par 4 on number 5. And that's it. A couple 380s kind of in there. So the guys can go after this golf course. Very well supported event, good event. Remember last year, Nick Taylor won, broke a 70-year skid, almost 75-year skid of a Canadian winning this tournament. Had to do it in a playoff over Tommy Fleetwood. Again, we're at a different venue this year. Want to double underscore all of that. So course history, non-existent. Tournament history maybe matters because of time of year. But that's to be discounted to a pretty significant extent, I think, this week. So we're going to get right into the model. Then we'll go into course or tournament history. Not course history. We'll go into tournament history. And then we'll talk about current form as well. All right, for those of you who are new to our show, new to this model, just a quick kind of overview of what we do here. So we're looking at strokes gained is our guiding light here. I don't care whether you gain on the approach, on the drive, on around the greens. I mean, I do care about around the greens, so that makes up a good percentage of your strokes gained. We're at deep doo-doo. Also, strokes gained putting. So I don't really care about the component pieces of how you gain strokes. Every golfer is a little bit different, and they tend to gain them in different ways. That said, the best golfers tend to do it tee to green and then figure out a way to putt, not the other way around. That's a general rule of thumb. The old idea that you drive for show and putt for dough, turns out it's not true. You drive for dough, you approach for dough, and you putt for dough. They all matter. But what sets you up best for success is tee to green play. And that, I know we talk about around the green with that. The strokes gained ball striking notion, the idea of off the tee and on the approach. That's really what matters if you're trying to break those things out. But I don't particularly care. I care how you gain strokes, or that you gain strokes, not how you gain them. So we're looking at strokes gained in 1 and 2 year windows, so rolling 1 and 2 year window. Last 50 events played, basically, and then last 100 events played. Then we're going to look at strokes gained in a tournament over the last 3 years at a tournament where the venue is the same. And then we're going to look at strokes gained in the last 10 PGA Tour events played. We're also going to look at strokes gained in those 1 and 2 year windows based on the quality of your competition. Also, we're going to weight it against the quality of competition we expect this week. So this is a tournament with 12 of the world top 50. You're going to have something like 40 some odd points to the winner, maybe about 50, depending on how it comes in. So we create a range of similar competition events to pull from in those 1 and 2 year windows and see how you do in them. Because some players play better against weaker competition, some play better against stronger competition, and some just kick everybody's ass. And those things, I think, matter. Not only does the golf course matter, not only does your performance matter, it matters who you play against. Because if you stink against better competition, I'm going to weight you differently. So that's how I feel about it. And that's from a competitive golf standpoint. So let's look at the top 10 for the week. I don't think it's going to be particularly surprising, maybe a little bit. Rory McIlroy, number 1 by far. Tommy Fleetwood, second. Remember, runner-up here last year. So a pretty big jump in points. 1.54 points for Tommy Fleetwood, 2.64 points for Rory McIlroy. So that's a pretty substantial difference. The difference between McIlroy and Fleetwood is the same as Fleetwood at 2 to number 22 on this ranking. So big, stark difference. Number 3 is Sam Burns, who has not had a very good year. This is a longer-term view of Sam Burns. Number 4, Corey Connors, great ball striker. 5, Adam Scott. Doug Gim is in here. He tends to do well against weaker fields, is also pretty streaky. So he is rated out pretty well here. Alex Noren is number 7. Shane Lowry is number 8. Again, Noren, a little bit more of a consistent stroke gainer. Lowry and Gim kind of have highs and lows. Sahith Theegala is number 9. Aaron Rai is number 10. Keith Mitchell is number 11. Mark Hubbard's number 12. Your defending champion, Nick Taylor, is number 13. I don't think any of those things are particularly shocking. Nate Lashley does most of his damage these days in weaker field events. He actually rates very well this week. He shouldn't. Michael Kim also does his damage in weaker events. So that's why he gets a big boost this week because he, one, plays a lot of them, and two, does well in them. That's how he keeps his card. Someone like an Andrew Novak, who's playing pretty okay golf, kind of across the board. He is rated pretty well in this model. Maverick McNeely, who I believe is pretty close to a win, is inside our top 20. So are Bo Hostler, Ben Griffin, Eric Cole. So basically gave you the top 20 for the week because I don't foresee a ton of action on this tournament. I think people are probably going to save it up a little bit for Memorial, and we could talk a little bit about potentially some long shots for fun at the U.S. Women's Open. But I don't think this is a great week to just kind of throw money at long shots because, like with Davis Riley last week, very unexpected result, right? Hadn't had really a top 30 all season, but so you didn't kind of foresee him playing that kind of golf where he was going to win by 5, right? But here we are. That could happen again this week. One of the big reasons I don't want to put a whole lot of money to work this week is because I don't think there's a whole lot of great value. Rory McIlroy to win is plus 360. Now, that seems a likely outcome, right? He's won this thing twice. He won it back-to-back. He's been a patron of this tournament. He likes this type of golf-ish. And he's won already twice this year. Well, 3 times this year worldwide. So there's a reason why he's plus 360. But then you go and take a look at the rest of the board, and the value is kind of hard to come by. Fleetwood is 16-1. I know he doesn't win in America, and you could say in the caveat that he could win in Canada and still win in North America, still win on the PGA Tour. He has been playing well, but it's 16-1 for a guy who was very averse to winning in America or finds a way to lose in America. That's hard for me to swallow. Sahith at 18-1 feels a little bit better. Right? He's been playing very good golf, had a good PGA championship. He has the kind of imagination to handle courses like this that you maybe don't know as well because they've been changed. That's a better play to me than the other two. Corey Connors is 22-1 along with Alex Norton. I mean, Alex Norton doesn't win. He doesn't win. At least Corey Connors wins sometimes, but neither of those guys at 22-1 scream value. Shane Lowry screams a little bit of value. He's a class player. He has been a winner this year on the tour. He puts up good events. He had a great PGA championship. All of those things are reasons to like him. Sam Burns at 25-1 has had a horrible year by his standard. Cameron Young, 25-1, has not won on the PGA Tour. How do you bet him at that number? Adam Scott has struggled. He's 30-1, but he gains a lot of strokes. Tom Kim, playing better, 35-1 I can get behind. Played pretty well at Colonial. Matt McNeely, who I've mentioned before, I think is getting close to a win. I could play him at 35-1. Matt Hughes playing pretty well. Not as well as Matt McNeely in my view, but 35-1. Keith Mitchell, 35-1, struggling. Aaron Rai playing well, 35-1. Can get behind. A couple guys in the 50s. Davis Thompson, Akshay Bhatia. I really was trying to get on the Bhatia train, and it's not happening right now. There's something lost. I don't know what it is. And that he could get right out of that funk on Thursday morning and be incredible. But I can't put money to work on him. Eric Van Rooyen, Adam Hadwin, 55-1. I'm cool with those. They're about the right price. I'm not betting either of them, but they're about the right price. Taylor Pendrith, 2 up and down, 60-1. I think he's better on places where you can just hit the crap out of it with impunity. This is not that kind of place. Doug Gim, 65-1. Modeled out very, very well. Playing very good golf. I think it's worth a value bet. I think it's worth a number on Doug Gim. It's not a likely outcome, but it is a better value outcome than a lot of the ones on the board. Adam Svensson, 65-1. Pass. Ryohei Setsune, your defending champion, is 70-1. Kevin Yu, 70-1. Daniel Berger, 71. Eventually, the books are realizing Daniel Berger is an NPC. We are not concerned about Daniel Berger right now. Maybe of those, Nick Taylor is, again, very hot and cold. Extremely hot and cold. I have a feeling there will be a lot of revelry in this week for him because of last year. I think that's a bad thing for his performance this year. So I would skip on him. Kevin Yu's an interesting player. I think he's heading in the right direction. I don't know that this is a course that perfectly suits him. Robert McIntyre, Nikolai Højgaard, Matt Wallace, Mark Hubbard, all 75-1. Nikolai struggled. Matt Wallace could be an interesting play here. Does well in the weaker fields. He isn't quite up to that level of a top 50 player, but he can do those kinds of things. Mark Hubbard's kind of an interesting bet. I would look at him more at a top 10 at plus 600 than to win. I love Hubbard against weaker fields. Played well the PGA Championship. He tends to handle these tighter golf courses pretty well. Again, hasn't won, but he is an ATM. I mean, he is just I don't think he's missed a cut this year. He is just cashing all over the place, and that's a good thing. But it's tough to bet that to win. So maybe you look at a top 10 and a top 20 bet on him. Seamus Power's getting better. Ryan Fox, they're both 80-1. I care about them. I could get behind either of them. I like Ryan Fox more, but on a venue like this, I like Seamus Power more. So maybe you want to get in there. Ben Griffin, been playing well, same number. Putting up a lot of top 20s, top 25 finishes. He's been consistent about making money this year. It's a good thing. I like him. Mac Meisner and S.H. Kim are two guys at 100-1 that I think have some value. Meisner's been in the top 15 twice in the last 5 events. He's been playing good golf. He has the capability to go low, and I think he can beat up on these types of shorter courses. S.H. Kim's been playing pretty well. It seems like he's kind of fading out of whatever run he's won, while Meisner is fading in, leaping into it, I suppose. Luke List, if the guy could putt, he would win so much more money. Gonna skip him though. KH Lee is the same number along with Grayson Sigg, who is playing better golf. I liked him a little bit last week. Mentioned him in our DFS article for members at golfnewsnet.com, but I don't think he's ready for a win. CT Pan is an interesting play, but I would skip. Your 130s, Sam Stevens, Nate Lashley, Matt Kuchar, Joseph Bramlett, Chan Kim, Ben Silverman, Andrew Novak. No thank you. I'm trying to find guys that are maybe of some value. Kevin Tway has been playing okay, but he gets sporadic starts and hasn't done well when he's gotten an opportunity against better fields. Chestnut Hadley's kind of interesting. Charlie Hoffman's interesting on a short course like this. He played pretty well last week. He could be interesting at 150-1. We've talked about Michael Kim, 180-1. It's hard to bet him, but he might be interesting on a top 20. Then beyond that, I think you're reaching pretty hard here. Maybe a Jorge Campillo has played well on the DP World Tour this year. It hasn't really translated to this tour, but he has played well in those opportunities. And that's enough for me. You don't really need to spend a lot of time and thinking about this. Maybe if you want like a super mega long shot, Alistair Doherty, who played pretty well in Myrtle Beach. You may be able to see some parallels between this course and the Dunes in that they're pretty similar length. They're kind of tight off the tee. I could get behind that if you want to talk yourself into that a little bit. I could get behind that. But after that, I mean, there are a lot of players in this field that they are just there to be there. They're happy to be there. And you probably get about 40 of them that are just happy to be there. So it's really a 120-player event, even though there's 156 players. Do you want to talk a little bit about some matchups? We'll not play any tournament props. No winning margin, none of that type of stuff. Because this, of course, to me, is basically new. Yeah, the bones are there, but to me, it's new. Tournament matchups. I do not like single-round matchups. 3 balls I can get through for a tournament, but not round. I don't like that kind of stuff. I want my 4 rounds to have a chance. Maybe on a Sunday, if you find a favorable matchup, maybe on a Saturday, once it gets a little bit tougher. But I tend to stay away from round 1 and round 2 matchups. Looking at what we got this week. Mark Hubbard, minus 110 against Ben Griffin, also minus 110. Give me Mark Hubbard. Mac Hughes against Akshay Bhatia, minus 120. I'll take Mac right now. Seamus Power and Bo Hostler, very similar golfers. I'll take Seamus Power. Matt McNeely over Keith Mitchell. I'd take that. Aaron Rai is minus 155 against Taylor Pendrith. While I think Aaron Rai is a significantly better golfer for this golf course, Rai is hard to get behind for that. That's just too much. That's too much big. So I will pass there. Tom Kim, minus 110 against Sam Burns. Sign me up for that. And that's enough for me on those fronts. So that's Canadian Open. Again, I would advise not too much interest in this. Some good live opportunities probably. Also, something to take away from last week. where Scottie Scheffler was favored to win the tournament even though he was 7 back of the lead halfway through. Markets move in really weird ways. And it didn't seem like until 1 p.m., 2 p.m. on Sunday that the books were finally convinced Davis Riley was going to win. So you still could have gotten plus money on him into Sunday to win the golf tournament. And the thought was, well, Scottie Scheffler will surely catch him and track him down, or someone like Tony Finau or Colin Morikawa would do that. And none of them ever did. 5 shots is a lot of shots. So sometimes you can find that live value and going, well, yeah, but Davis Riley is a functional professional golfer. He's not just going to vomit all over himself a 5-shot lead in a tournament that's not a major. Sometimes you got to use those live betting opportunities to your advantage. So please consider accordingly. All right, let's spend a little bit of time on the U.S. Women's Open. Big week for them. Really big week. Nelly Court is going for a second major in as many tries this year. She has 6 wins and 8 starts, 6 in her last 7. Obviously, she's the favorite. She's not that much stronger of a favorite than Rory McIlroy is this week, though. And I find that interesting. She's plus 330 to win. A little bit stronger than McIlroy. Given the way she has been dominant in finishing tournaments, maybe not just blowout wins, but in finishing tournaments, I do find that somewhat surprising. Rose Zhang is 18 to 1. She won her second LPGA event at the Founders Cup in a great final round duel with Madeline Sagstrom. This isn't that kind of golf course, but Zhang has so much experience on tough golf courses in these types of situations. There's a reason why she's 18-1, because she's really the only person to stand up to, and she was the only person to win this year, really, with Nelly Court in the field. That's crazy, right? I mean, the first event of the year, a little different. That was a super limited field. But that's it. This is your person. That's why she's 18-1. Italia Titicol is 20 to 1. Interesting play. She had a chance. She should have won the Chevron probably if she had gotten her act together, but she did not get her act together in time. She fell apart in the final day and had a good chance and let it go. Brooke Henderson's 25 to 1. Ayaka Faru is also 25 to 1. I think of those. I tend to think about Henderson more, but I don't think of this golf course. It's Lancaster Country Club, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Last held the tournament 2015. Inji Chun won. Amy Yang had a chance. It's not necessarily a golf course for bombers. It's going to be a little bit of a tougher setup. Going to have a fair amount of rough. This is a William Flynn design, so the guy who designed Shinnecock and a bunch of other incredible places. But for people who are betting on golf, that's your best introduction to him. And his architecture can be especially challenging around the greens. I mean, that's really where he gets you, is on those types of shots. Can be demanding off the tee, but you've got to really be able to put in the work on the approach play. Jin Young Ko's 28 to 1. Hugh Kim is 28 to 1. Charlie Hall's 28 to 1. Charlie Hall's playing pretty well. Jin Young Ko has just so much variable with her wrists and injuries. It's hard for me to bet on her. Hugh Kim played very well at the Chevron. Se Young Kim's 30 to 1. She's starting to kind of make a comeback, but that's way too short. Patty Tavitanican is 35 to 1. Again, too short. I think your two best players are Minjee Lee and Hannah Green. They're both 35 to 1. Hannah Green has the distinction of being the only other multi-time winner so far in the season. She won 2 events. Neither of them had Nelly Court in the field. They had a great duel at the last tournament, the Mizuho Americas Open. Hannah Green blinked on the 18th hole, the 72nd hole of the tournament, but they were right back and forth throughout that final day. Hannah Green's got the ball striking to be able to play this tournament and win. She can do very, very well here. Minjee Lee is kind of the quintessential U.S. Women's Open player. She hits the snot out of the ball. She hits a lot of greens, and she has already won one of these. She won one of Pine Needles, so she knows what it's like to win majors. She can stand up to Nelly Korda. Starting to play a little bit better. Janet Lynn, 35 to 1 pass. Ronnie Yin, 40 to 1 pass. Lydia Ko's kind of interesting to me at 40 to 1 because that would be a really interesting way of earning her way into the LPGA Hall of Fame. She has to win one more tournament or win a postseason award of some kind to get into the LPGA's Hall of Fame. It's points based. It is probably one of the most difficult halls of fame to get into in sport. And she's 1 point away. To do that in a major where you get 2 points would be pretty cool. Lynn Grant's 40-1. Maybe. Megan Kang, 45-1 is kind of intriguing as a price. I would like Leona Maguire here. I like Gabby Ruffles here. They're both 50-1. Leona's a gamer, loves these types of tough courses. Gabby Ruffles is playing great golf, has given herself a couple of opportunities to get into that top 5, top 10. She's cracked well into the top 50 in the world ranking. She's playing solid golf, and she has great USGA championship experience. She knows what it's like to win a USGA championship. 50-1, I like where her game is. Then you start to kind of get a little bit deeper, like a Maya Stark, 60-1. A G.A. Shin, 65-1 is kind of interesting because she doesn't really play on the LPGA except in these types of tournaments. She's still got the game. She's still got a great game. As a top 10 player, plus 450 is kind of interesting. So maybe you want to look at that. Esther Hensleit is playing great golf, 80-1. I think she's a good long shot. She'd have to kind of pull an In-Ji Chun, basically, of who's this? Oh, wait, you're a major winner now? And have a great week. But she could do it. Absolutely could do it. Allison Corpuz, I'm going to put to the side. I'm reluctant to say this because it's going to sound silly if she plays terribly. But Ingrid Lindblad is 100-1. She just finished up an incredible collegiate career. And she really can contend out of the gates. She finished in the top, 5, basically every time in the Augusta National Women's Am. She's got a great power game. She's got a ton of confidence. She could play extremely well in this tournament and shock the world. 100-1 would not be that surprising. Kind of like a Rose Zhang. She's got that level of talent. She's just got to figure out a way to close. And she has struggled at closing at times, but she can do it. In-Ji Chun, champion here from 9 years ago, 110-1. Amy Yang, as I mentioned, played great here a decade ago. And I think she's still very much a high-class player that can do a lot of damage in this tournament. If you look at her season, and it's... Sorry, this is all the data's messed up. T28 the Mizuho Americas Open, missed the cut at the Founders Cup. T61 at the JM Eagle, T45 at the Chevron, missed the cut at the Ford Championship, T10 at the HSBC Women's Champions, T23 at the LPGA Thailand. Been an up and down year for her, but she's a great player, and she's a really good ball striker. She could be an interesting play here this week. Similar number, Alexandra Forsterling is playing phenomenal golf on the Ladies European Tour, just dominating that tour this year. Might be someone to look at 130-1. If you're looking for a recognizable name, Lottie Wode, who won the Augusta National Women's Am, contended in the first 2 days of the Chevron, is 150-1. I'll stay away from her, but Stephanie Kirikou at 180-1. Cannot stop betting that lady. She's a good player. She's going to have a shocking win someday. 180-1, I think, is worth a pizza bet. I love that term, the pizza bet. Let's talk European Open for a hot second. A little bit of a different tournament this week. There are Green Eagle golf courses in Germany. This used to be the BMW or Porsche European Open. Now it's the Porsche Singapore Classic is the one they sponsor. So this is just a sponsorless tournament. This is typically a tougher scoring tournament. Tom McKibben has played well here 1 year last year, 22-1. Rasmus Højgaard's in the field at 20-1. Richard Manziel's 22-1. Jordan Smith, Bernd Wiesberger, Nicholas Norgard, who was a good play last week in the Sudal Open, gave us a chance. 30-1 this week, much shorter odds, 30-1. But I think he's playing in some good golf. Alex Fitzpatrick at 35-1 kind of catches my eye a little bit. Romain Langosk is playing well. He's very tough to catch, but 45-1 feels like a good price for him. Maybe Ewan Ferguson at 70-1. And so many people have thought about Marcus Hellikild, who would have a great year this year, and he just has not. It has not materialized yet. So I'll stay with very short slate on that. Principal Charity Classic on the champions. Steve Alker is your favorite. He's 4-1. Jerry Kelly's 10-1. Ernie Els is 10-1. Steve Ames is 12-1. I like Steve Ames' chances. David Toms at 18-1 is an interesting play. Doug Barron's playing great golf. 22-1 is worth a look. I really wish that Greg Chalmers would have gotten into this through Monday qualifying. Would have bet the heck out of him. He played great at the Senior PGA Championship. Paul Stankowski likes this golf course. 45-1 is worth a look. Scott Dunlap has continued to play pretty well post shortened win. 100-1 might be worth a look as well. And I think that's enough for me on that front. So there's plenty of golf to look forward to this week. Got plenty of tournaments. There's, I forgot to mention, Korn Ferry Tour event. UNC Health Championship, Riley Country Club in Raleigh, North Carolina. Hometown event for one of my best friends. Shout out to Jeff. 16-1 is Tim Beating. Frankie Sappin, the third, is 18-1. Quade Cummins, 20-1. I kind of like all of them. I think Frankie's very close to a win. So is Quade. Tim's done the job. He's 1-2. He's in business. Kyle Westmoreland at 20-1 is kind of interesting to me. Matt McCarty at 35-1 is interesting to me. Christopher Ventura, I keep sticking around him. It's gonna happen. He's so close. 40-1 is interesting to me as a look here. And then, some of the guys who have already won this year, like Aldrich Potgieter, is now down to 70-1. Like guys that you thought might just use this as a breakout opportunity. This is a golf course where a lot of different things could happen. A lot of strange things could happen. William McGirt, 100-1. It's kind of interesting to me. Southern guy, kind of likes this type of golf. Russell Knox, 100-1, former PGA Tour player, could be interesting. Maybe that's probably about it for me here. But I think I would probably stick toward the likes of maybe Taylor Dixon as well. Taylor Dixon's played pretty well. Ventura, Dixon, and then Quade and Frankie Sappin would probably be my lineup here. Again, small money, not a lot of money on Korn Ferry Tour events. You can truly move a market if you put a big wager on it. You might even get kicked out of the market, to be honest with you. So you got to treat that with kid gloves. Kind of just have a fun sweat this week. All right, that's going to do it for us for this week on the show. Good luck with all your bets this week. Hope you cash. Hope you're making tons of money. Love to hear when people are doing well, whether they take my advice or otherwise. So please don't hesitate to reach out, Ryan at thegolfnewsnet.com. I'm on Twitter, Threads, X, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Ryan Ballingy. Facebook and YouTube at Ryan Ballingy Golf. You can join Golf Newsnet for $40 a year over at golfnewsnet.com. $10 for the first week, and then $30 after those 7 days. And you can cancel after 7 days and just pay the $10, but I would strongly recommend you get the full year. All right. We'll be back next week with another slate of shows. We'll have Memorial. We'll get ready for the U.S. Open. We'll go over what happened this past week. We do have another live event. I believe that's in Houston next week. So we'll talk about that as well. There's plenty to get to, and we're getting right into the meat of the season. So thank you for listening. I very much appreciate it. I'm Ryan Ballingy, and we will talk to you next week.